From a distance, it looks like some architectural works. The undulating hills and valleys that characterize the topology of Kigezi region in southwestern Uganda seem to be covered by repetitive chiseled patches. They are structured in different shapes and sizes and tones of green and yellow, forming a spectacular scenery. At a close range, however, the winding roads, negotiating the troughs and hilltops that would make motoring a memorable adventure complete the scenic beauty, unveils the underlying time bomb in the region. The green patches are gardens on highly fragmented pieces of land, signaling an acute population pressure and the attendant land shortages in the region. The yellowing patches are malnourished crops, confirming that the soils are highly degraded because of erosion and overuse by the predominantly subsistence farming communities in the region. To compound it all, the rugged paths through the steep terrain makes marketing of the agricultural produce a nightmare, stifling further the livelihoods of one of the highest population densities in Uganda today. The impact is particularly evident on the poor and marginalized members of this society. It is these that the Kigezi Business Development Service Project was designed to help out of their predicament. It operates in the districts of Kabale, Kisoro, and Kanungu.
This project is funded by the Austrian government, CARE Austria, CARE Uganda, and the Wellspring Foundation based in the USA. The community that we serve, the very poor, have limited access to markets, and yet they are doing very good, profitable businesses. And the bottom line that we are looking at is fighting poverty, which is looking at the Millennium Development Goal number 1. This area, the problem of land is acute. So we realize that the subsectors that we are going to support should be subsectors that take as less land as possible. And that's why we promoted the honey subsector, because the beehives are put in the trees or in the gardens that people use. That does not take any space. It can be put even in the compound. We are supporting the passion fruit subsector because the poles that the passion fruits are growing on run through the gardens. We are supporting the handcraft subsector that use raw materials from forest or from the wetlands. We found out that in the honey subsector, they are mainly men, although we are trying to attract as many women as possible. The handcraft subsector is predominantly women. The passion fruit is a mixture of the two. But the total population that we are targeting is 25,000 people.
The project adopted the business service approach of identifying markets for the enterprises and linking them to the local producers.
We do a lot of market research as CARE, and then we look at which one can be more profitable but sustainable. We look at the whole chain from production up to the last consumer. And then we look at the best entry point, trying to shift farmers from subsistence farming to some level of commercialization. So when we started, we made some subsector analyses, and we found that the farmers have been in passion fruit, in honey, and handcraft. And when we went in market analysis, we found actually out there are some markets that can be profitable and sustainable to help these farmers. So the markets that we have directly identified and linked to the farmers, we have reduced the intermediaries, we have reduced middlemen. The farmers are talking to the buyers directly. That means reducing the monies that have been taken all along between there. By the way, in all our marketing strategies in the rural areas, we've tried to help them establish collection centers in all subsectors. So you find that farmers know that when I have harvested, I'm supposed to be collecting somewhere, and where I will be paid cash, then I go back home. By that, carrying a special passion fruit, the bicycles are already on ground. People must pay something, maybe 50%, but after paying, they can own it. But in a sense that the person who has that is able to be charging a fee on carrying different sacks from different places to collection centers. So whoever has participated in any of the subsectors, whoever has sold, there is a difference, especially in the household income.
On the ground, CARE worked through different partners to ensure that the local communities, 1, increase on the quality and quantity of their products, and 2, develop systems such as contracts, all geared at meeting the requirements of the identified markets. Africa 2000 Network was the implementing partner in the passion fruit subsector. The small purple passion fruit is part of the rich biodiversity of the Mugahinga windy mountain forest ranges. Over the time, the people who used to pick them from the forest as a source of food and some little incomes to supplement their domestic needs started growing them in their gardens. But not for long. They were attacked by a strange disease which caused them to wither and consequently die. Since Africa 2000 Network was working with the smallholder farmers to, among other things, reintroduce these passion fruits, they teamed up with CARE International, which at the time was promoting the Kawanda hybrid. The variety was more resistant to the disease, had bigger fruits, and, most important, yields profusely to meet the demands of the market. The farmers welcomed the idea and greatly took up the Kawanda hybrid alongside their small purple passion fruits. The project covered 8 sub-counties shared out equally in Kanungu and Kabale districts.
These sub-counties were picked specifically because they are the leading producers of the small purple passion fruit. And at the same time, Africa 2000 has been working with them on other programs. And CARE was coming in with a new innovation of producing the hybrid, which we call Kawanda. So we also picked interest and thought that we could also assist the farmers and they move in this production.
Over 3,000 farmers have been trained and more than a half have taken up passion fruit growing. Of these, nearly 100 were also trained to offer immediate extension services to their contemporaries within the community. They are called community-based trainers. Our first contact, Charles Mwesije in Bukinda sub-county in Kabale district, was such a farmer. He has a commercial nursery bed where he tends the rootstock and the grafted passion fruit seedlings. Close by, he established an orchard with about 30 plants. Both the nursery and the orchard also double as the demonstration grounds for those who would want to take up passion fruit growing. It promotes the use of the local herbicides to keep pests and diseases at bay.
Eboma ekarugu mu kitongole kya Keya. Hatiya tukozere edagala erye kinyansi. Eri mu ebiti halimu omuruku, halimu omuhoko, halimu nitutamu kashenda, nitutamu eshenda na mukazi murofa kanuka. Eryo nirgito bukoko. Uri kutuma amabige g'ibitunda byafunyara. Gwo gubonire na waba no soroma no guma no gukolesa bwo kubati guri kushisha mu magara g'umuntu. Ndije kuba ni soroma ni nte kuba ni nje kuyamu abo kuba buri kiti nimba ni nyaho kiro kinana season. Mbone ibi ni biti 30 ninje kuba ni nyamu kiro nke 12 na bina.
And so, if they were to be sold today at the market price of 600 shillings per kilo, Mwesije would get 1,440,000 shillings, the highest amount he would have ever obtained from not only agriculture but also other business enterprises in a single season in a lump sum. In Kanungu, the story is even more captivating. Kamara Jackson in Nkamba village, Bugarama sub-county, Rutugunda county took us around his 3-bedroomed house, whose window panes he bought from selling passion fruit seedlings. He too, like Mwesije in Kabale, is a community-based trainer.
Ndio mujemeki w'ebitunda nenga ninkola bed konka omubed omwenyihiremu ebitunda nabiguza kandi seedlings ezo kunzigurize na hamo sente zagezeho kugira ikizankolera zinkolera ibintu bingi konka okukira munonga inyombeke sizenju kandi sente zinyihiremu zika miliyoni 2 emitwali 12 hanyuma nshaziremu kugira ngo ubunyombekire enju nyine mu zindi sente zentasya konka nashoramo ikintu kimwe nayihamu emitwaro 50 nakora naguramo frame zizenju zebyoma mweno nchagumiza mwenju kujimalira kandi ubwe nyine amasiko nebitunde bindi kubirayere ebimbyere nabyo kongera kuhamu sente ezogumiza mu kumalira enju.
Successful community-based trainers like Kamara inspire the community members to take up the enterprises, and so they are advised to become models and to produce, like in this case, passion fruit seedlings which the converted community members would buy to start own plantations. These rewards motivate the community-based trainers to work even harder to sustain the achievements and for the community members to ensure that their investments yield benefits. Therefore, it is a win-win situation that instills the spirit of working for development and not to wait for handouts, a syndrome that has for long inhibited producing for the market.
The culture we are trying to build in this rural poor is the culture of investing. You can invest first and get later, and having that sense of patience and business and calculating the profitability for now and for future. But when we are going along, we find that there are some other programs that come in now in some areas and start giving some services for free. So for us, we are saying the services we are bringing within the rural community, the people we are training, building capacity to be available for people to access services, they should pay a fee. But then some other programs come in and find that they give things for free. Then the farmers say, but why should this KBDS program tell us to pay for a pump to spray or to pay a fee for somebody to teach me how to graft when the other program is bringing me a free seedling, well done, and I am ready to plant. So although we are trying to bring those related program authorities on board to discuss with them to build that culture, that is one of the biggest challenge. And then another challenge we see is getting people to understand that if they sell their products in groups, if they bulk, they are able to be empowered and they negotiate with the buyers and improve and get profitable prices. It is still difficult.
And so, as more farmers took on passion fruit growing, the project advised them to form associations so that they can bulk, transport, bargain and sell their produce as a group. Africa 2000 Network and CARE also identified the markets and linked them to the farmers. In Kanungu district, for example, the project has identified Gatiko food processors to buy the passion fruit directly from the farmers, and the farmers are exploiting every opportunity.
Kagutandika kuguhinga 2006 mu December. Obwo mpabwirwe aba Africa 2000 Network bine support yake. Hati kwihobwe nkahinga mpingire biti 9. Hariho biti nkaga ibiri kwera. Ubwo butundo burera abake na A2N bagampo buhabuzi okunda abuguzi. Hati na mazire kuguza kilo 200 mu kwezi kumwe. Kuyanke nyumaho nkabanda guzaleza rije ntakabwina katari ndafucha guzo kunabona. Naguzamo nazo kilo nkigana. Ndiguza na mu musiri unabona arafucha kugura. Hati mu butunde sete zimbiri nyihiremo zikwata mitwaro nka 8. Mpinge mboga kandi cyashurwa manati nguzire embuzi 2 ekiru cyazo kiri muka kikakiri mwina hati naguzire 2 za 2 mukaga izindi nyire mu butunda ndikumbigenzo ansiri nazo ziranyamba yamba.
Africa 2000 Network and CARE have also mobilized the traders so that they can even access wider markets outside the Kigezi sub-region. The biggest so far is Britannia, the leading beverage factory in Kampala. As such, the traders formed the Kigezi Passion Fruit Traders Association to meet the demands of this enormous market. Besides meetings, they used the radio to mobilize the farmers to sell the passion fruits to the designated buying centers and the traders to buy at the agreed price.
Amazina ganje ndi Robert Turyamureba ninkora nka chairman w'abashubuzi b'ubutunda nkora mu Central Market nimwishwa twatwarugera mu program ndi n'aba African.
With such messages, the traders are able to bulk as many as 100 sacks of passion fruit every week for onward transportation to Kampala, the biggest consumer of the passion fruit. The challenge now is for the farmers to sustain the market, the phenomenon that has all along eluded them, caging them in the chains of poverty. Handicrafts, particularly baskets, are synonymous with Kigezi region. They are produced and used mainly by women for their domestic chores like carrying food from the gardens into the market. And so, the project coordinated by Drusilla Balaba Vocational Training Institute, a project of the Mothers Union under Kigezi Diocese, tapped into this local expertise to mobilize women in 10 sub-counties in Kabale district to produce for the enormous market identified outside the country.
When they heard about the market, they were excited and they are overwhelmed because they had never known that their work could be sold and they get enough money to do some activities at their homes. We are selling to Nao. It deals with exporting these crafts. The markets really are overwhelming, which the women cannot meet properly now. They give us measurements, colors, and sizes they want, which the women were not used to. And these women find it difficult because they have not been to school, they don't know how to measure. You give them a tape measure, they cannot really grasp what to use it for. And it has taken me very long to make them really get to use these measurements. But now, as I talk, they have improved a lot, which is very encouraging.
And so, Drusilla has to continue training the women to meet the demands of the market. So far, the training has given women some hints in record keeping and how to save and invest the money they get out of the handicrafts to improve upon their household incomes. After the training sessions, they break up into groups to enrich their expertise. During our visit, they could not hide their joy at the innovation. Sylvester Roage is the only man we found at the scene. He says it did not make him less of a man to sit amidst women to make baskets, an activity he describes as a lawful source of income.
ni mu karasi ya kana mu primary natandika kukugusa bwanyamba bwanshwa bwampereraho mwana isinte zinaratunga nazo zaguma ziranyamba no mu kuhinga no mu kugira ndahinga n'imunda.
1 year down the road, the women are already reaping from their sweat. Conspicuously, all the families we visited had mothers and their siblings producing handicrafts together. Quite encouraging because it is one of the surest ways of ensuring sustainability of the acquired culture. The culture of not just produce handicrafts, as was the case, but to produce for an income.
Hati naisane miezi 5 ndi kuruka ebiserebi kandi ndebire byanyamba munonga nyamwe kasete ngura sabuni ngura ki ebikiri kwetenga kitari kunteganisa n'ibireri beitu obutami efunjo byo nimbigure sete konke birere byo nimbona nibiho mu rutoki
amazina ganje baranyita mazubo kandi wane jese size kuruka ni mama wanje kandi ndamanya kuruka bitemere nagi bonenta kandi sete zinde mundanda za mama wanje zinde arangura mabijaro na fizi na kamara ndagura na musibatai ni na mandazi.
Overall, handicraft production is a double score. Double because the bulk of the raw materials are dried banana fibers and so they don't damage the source. Rather, to increase on their supply means growing more banana plants and therefore more food. The other materials are the old reeds from the swamp, which if removed, they simply increase their replenishment ability.
The women have been encouraged to grow bananas so that they can have the materials available. And there are some other local materials which grow naturally here along the swamps where there is something like water. So women have really now turned to business, so they are growing these materials themselves.
The Silabalaba Training Institute in the heart of Kabale town doubles as the training as well as the major collection center of the handicrafts destined to the United States market through Kampala. The institute also acts as a retail outlet for the members of the community. Honey is a delicacy in Kigezi region. Traditionally, many marginalized communities, particularly of the Batwa ethnic group, used to rely on the rainforest, now turned between the impenetrable and Mugahinga Forest National Parks to get honey from the wild bees.
Tukikunda kutukiza mushamba akaruka kacenda kabo kugira ngo ibintu biturushisha neza akakanze niko byaga ibintu bishinde dukunda mushamba n'iremo.
Unfortunately, they cannot enjoy honey from the wild bees anymore because they were driven out of the forest and restrained to use the forest resources again. They now live as squatters outside the national park. We used to live there, but the government chased us, one of them told us, asking us to intervene on their behalf as they led us to an escarpment outside the park where they have sited a semi-traditional beehive. They now join the nearly 100 poor households living around Gahinga and Bwindi National Forest Park who have transformed beekeeping from a tradition to an income-generating enterprise. The effort is coordinated by the Kigezi Beekeepers Association, another sector under the KBDS project. The project trained community-based trainers to in turn mobilize, train and offer extension services in apiculture to the grassroots communities, but most important, to facilitate them to ensure that they meet and sustain the requirements of the market. Besides, the project also provided a seed stock of Langstroth beehives to the farmers on a micro-leasing scheme from the Uganda Microfinance. The hive is capable of producing 30 to 40 kilograms of honey at every harvest, compared to a mere 6 to 10 from the traditional hives. KBDS also trained local artisans to produce these hives and organized buying centers for honey distributed across the district. The effort is paying off as many community members now bring their honey to the nearby buying center. One such center is at Nyarushiza, barely 2 kilometers from the boundaries of Mugahinga Mountain Forest National Park. It services the 10 groups in 3 parishes in Nyarushiza sub-county.
Group ya Rukongi parish ifite groups 5, Gitenderi parish ifite group 2, Mabungo parish ifite groups 3, zose ni group 10 zisangwa mu Nyarushiza sub-county. Ubwo umumaro wa ico twungutse mu Honey Collection Center ya Nyarushiza nukuyamba abavumbu kugira ngo batavunika bari kuruha ku bwa transport bari kujana ubuki Gisoro kuko hari urugendo rurerure.
This is a positive gesture the community members would want to exploit to the full, but to the landless, the nearest option is to keep bees close to their homesteads, a phenomenon that can be disastrous, particularly the children. In one incident, 3-year-old Kashorwa was attacked while she was playing. With such incidences on the increase, bee farmers now build barricades to keep the children away from the bees. In here, this farmer has 10 beehives out of the 80 spread in the garden. Though some have not colonized yet, he's optimistic that come the next harvesting season, he will break the barriers of poverty that have for long enslaved him and his folks.
Imizingiro y'inzuki ni 9 kandi irimo ubusa itayirajamo inzuki 8 mu mubisi ndahakuraga kabonamo agasente kajana kugurisha nkabonamo agasente kakamfasha mu byo kwambara n'ibyo guhinga. Abarundi inzuki dufite ndi no mu kibina hamwe mu kibina cya society nk'imisi 14 niho tukiremaga. Nibyo tubaga tugukika tuguteranya ubusente no kureba uko twarunda uko turora inzuki.
Those who have adopted the long-strothed beehives are even more optimistic. Twabasobose John, under measure of smoke to shield him from the bees, conducted us around his apiary.
Ubundi gugura hangaha nkuramo kilo 8, ubu nago nari nkukuyemo kilo 15. Buriya nago nari nkukuyemo kilo 5, gusa ubwo gwagize ingorane yuko nawuzanye hano bumaze imvura iri kugwa mu gihe cy'imvura mu kwezi kwa 9, kagiramo n'indi ya kijambere bitaranga Strauss. Iyo mizinga mfitemo 6, ariko gumwe muri iyo nibwo ubungugu ubu burimo inzuki zagiyemo ibisi 28 ukwezi kwa 4 muri uyu mwaka. Indi ikaba yagitse iri impande nkuko guma mu gubonye hariya, indi nayo nayijanye mu mpande gushakisha inzuki.
The Batwa ethnic people who were evicted from the forest will, however, have to wait until CARE and the government finish the policy change negotiations to allow them to re-enter the forest to site their hives.
CARE has tried a lot to work with Batwa. We've instituted a hives revolving scheme for the Batwa, and so far under that scheme over 100 hives have been distributed, but they have a challenge in where to place the hives. So we have had some initial discussions with Uganda Wildlife Authority on how we can come to an understanding so that the Batwa can be given land where to place their hives, but it is still in the initial stages, but we hope to pursue it further.
But some who are swift have tapped into the opportunity and sited their hives on the escarpments outside the park. It now remains a few months away for them to take the honey to the nearby collecting centers en route to the major buying center, the Kisoro Beekeepers Cooperative Society in Kisoro town. They sell to retail buyers.
We buy honey from farmers within these collection centers, and each kilogram we buy it at 3,100 shillings. The the 3,000 is supposed to go to the farmers as people who are producing honey. Then 100 is supposed to go to the community-based trainers. And if he has not harvested for the farmer, then the farmer takes the 3,100 as a whole. Last year we managed to collect approximately 6 tons, but our projection is estimated to reach 10 tons according to the strategic plan we made recently. We are working throughout the whole district within the 14 sub-counties. Out of the 100 groups, we have 2,371 farmers.
To complete the development cycle, the project introduced the Village Savings and Loan Association, where the communities can borrow and save to accumulate capital to support the production in other sectors. The leading partner and implementer is Kavale Community-Based Traders Association. During our visit, the association members were returning the loans they had borrowed to support their various activities.
kaguzayo imitwaro 5 naza kugura imfunjo gutami nge narukire mwe bibo 5 nabigurize ni hamwe imitwaro 3 na kashanje ibyasigaye nabiguza niho ndarete zisigiriye ngene ubundi nda kuyihura imitwaro 3.
So far, the association has accumulated 3 million shillings as loanable money over the past 1 year, and yet they save only 200 shillings every week. As the first phase of the project comes to the end, it leaves behind vivid indicators that the campaign to phase out poverty amongst the poor households can never succeed unless there is a strong linkage between research, farmers, extension and markets.
Even if now care we put out, I don't think ShopRite will stop buying its honey in Kisoro. Like in passion fruit, the key markets we have identified, one of them is Britannia. Britannia I don't think is going tomorrow. Like the handcrafts, if you can see, even the women are still failing to fulfill the orders. More orders are coming, which means the markets that we have identified are really serious on their products, and they send what they want, and that's where the farmers are producing for the markets.
We've developed a number of warehouses that the farmers are now using to collect their produce and store it so they get a higher price after storing it for some months when the market prices go up. We've developed the capacities of the Kavale District Farmers Association to better support farmers. Farmers groups have become stronger and more sustainable and better able to negotiate higher prices and negotiate better prices for inputs. We're very happy about that. We hope that the national government will put more money, more resources into small farmer agriculture in line with the KBDS work. We're also hoping that NADS will become more effective and will be able to establish better linkages between the farmer groups and the NADS work that's going on. So there's a bright potential in future for agriculture in Uganda, and small farmers are well poised to take advantage of higher food prices, better prices for their products, and better markets.